But here's the deal, Russell Wilson, Tim Hardaway, give him credit. First guy in America to suggest that the Pittsburgh Steelers made the most sense. And he's right. And Russell Wilson putting out a little video yesterday acknowledging that he has a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yep. Kenny Pickett, good thing he's renting and didn't buy, because he will never play another game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I think this is amazing. And here's the crazy part about this to me. He goes to a really good situation, great franchise, got talent, great coach. Couldn't be a better spot for Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. You could still make the argument, though, he's the worst quarterback in his division.
You can definitely make that argument.
Right?
And I'm not so sure it's just, oh, here you go, Russ, this is your offense. It's going to be a quarterback competition.
No, stop that, stop that. I can't have that. I can't have that, Craig. I know you haven't worked in a month. You want to get the rust off the wheels. I get it. I want to be very clear about this. There is no competition between Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett is now QB2. There is no competition, but feel free.
He should be QB2. He should be, but when you have put up a first-round draft pick on the guy and he has had minimal success, right, but you allow him to continue to have experience and you bring in a guy like Russell Wilson, obviously he has to win over the locker room. Something that Baker Mayfield did last year when he went down to Tampa Bay. Yep. On his, third team, trying to revitalize his career. This could be career, ending for Russell Wilson if it doesn't work out. But if it does, if he postures himself the right way, yeah, he should thrive. There's a lot of things that benefit Russell Wilson if he comes in and just does his job and does what they're hoping that he can get done. Yeah. But Kenny Pickett, being a young guy, having seen some glimmer of hope, there's possibility that
I just want to walk through this just for historical references only, and you guys jump in as you will. Don't forget that the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin, who we all love and respect, decided that Mason Rudolph was a better option than a healthy Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett will never see the field if Russell Wilson is healthy. And I know all the knocks on Russ, and they're all well-deserved. I also saw a guy that can still play football in the second half of the year last year for the Denver Broncos, where he wasn't the problem. The defense was the problem. In my opinion, the coaching was the problem. Russell Wilson will be the comeback player of the year in the NFL.
Well, so, Willie, I want to ask you this question, because something interesting going on with the Steelers that we haven't really seen before. Mike Tomlin is on the end of his deal. Yep. Russell Wilson has a one-year deal. Yep. What is at stake? If this goes bad, could this be the end of an era in Pittsburgh?
Well, first of all, congratulations to my Pittsburgh Steelers. Here we go.
Here we go.
Let's throw that out there. No, at the end of the day, this is more about the Pittsburgh Steelers getting back to form, right? I think the standard, you heard James Harrison say it in the presser, the standard right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers is just making it over, for keeping it 500 or above. That's never been a standard. This is an organization that has always been about Super Bowls, and now you have a quarterback who's been to Super Bowls, has a resume. Valley, he's not the same guy, but overall, even under Sean Payton, he was a better quarterback than he was in year one. The issue with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now is they realize the window right now is closing, right? Because you have a defense that's aging, you have an offense that's young, that has weapons, that need a quarterback to be a field general. That's what Russell Wilson can do.
Look, Russell Wilson's on a better team with a better coach, in my opinion, right now. You look at it, they couldn't run the ball last year. They were a one-trick pony with Cortland Sutton as the wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy, who's now since been traded to the Cleveland Browns. So you know how they felt about Jerry Jeudy, obviously, and his lack of development as what they thought was going to be a rock star, at least in a great number 2 wide receiver to Cortland Sutton. So Russell Wilson's also at a career crossroads, right? He's going to get the 80-some-odd million bucks no matter what he does over the next couple of years by the Denver Broncos. The notion that he's going to go into Pittsburgh and be a me-first guy, to me, is completely unfair to Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely unfair. I think it's something that he should make sure and ensure that doesn't even become an issue. Change that narrative the moment you step foot down into Pittsburgh. Because, again, I liken this to Baker Mayfield. Off of social media, made sure his number one motive was to make sure it was, I'm a part of the guys. I'm a part of this team, this organization. Now, Russell Wilson, this is a situation, in my opinion, where I look at it, and if he is the starting guy coming out day one, This is you have a solidified defense, a defense that can get it done. You have a offense that has a brand of being a physical style offense, which is what he kind of had in Seattle. You have weapons on the outside that you have in younger guys that can make plays. All you have to do is just be what you were early in your career. And everyone knocks the game manager, but he doesn't need to play hero ball. He doesn't need to cook. He doesn't need to be dangerous. He just needs to be better than what they've seen under center the previous few years.
And then we also got to forget, Russell Wilson had 26 touchdowns last year. He only had 8 interceptions. Like, he took care of the football. What we talked about was that defense for him in Denver that was absolutely atrocious. That's what let him down time after time. But most of the time when the ball was in his hands, he took
they couldn't score a whole lot of points.
Well, him and Courtland Sutton came on at the end of the year. But I like Russ. You got Deontay, you got Pickens. Now you have Fairmouth, and you run game with a new offensive coordinator. The Steelers are going to be way better.
Apparently, he also spent a lot of time on the phone with Arthur Smith, who's now running the offense there. And, obviously, there's a relationship that goes back. Go, jump in.
Because as much as this is a great move for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin in his career, like, he's in the AFC North. Where you have the Baltimore Ravens, who made the AFC Championship game. You have the Cleveland Browns, who made the postseason with 15 quarterbacks. You have the Cincinnati Bengals, who will be getting their quarterback back and then possibly being back to where they once were. Like, this is not just a layup.
No, I'm saying, but here's the thing. He could be the worst quarterback, and that's probably the wrong word here, in the entire division, and they could come in dead last in the division. Yeah, they were 9-8 last year. So were the Cincinnati Bengals. Neither one of those teams had a credible quarterback for the majority of the year. Obviously, Burrow gets hurt. Browning comes in, and we all know about the situation with the 3 different guys that played quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But here's the deal from a Pittsburgh standpoint. For the first time ever, Mike Tomlin goes into a season as a lame duck head coach contractually. He's in the last year of his deal. We have never gotten to that in his illustrious coaching career. So he's now on thin ice regarding his future, whether he decides to move on or the Rooneys decide at the end of this year it's time for a new voice in that locker room. They've only had 3 in 50 years, so they don't make that decision without a lot of forethought. So give the Rooneys credit for that. But here's the reality of Pittsburgh. Despite being 9-8, despite making the playoffs, they cannot compete in their own division without a major upgrade at quarterback. And they addressed that and got a major upgrade at quarterback. I could still make the argument that they come in last place in their division, and that might be good enough, by the way, to be a playoff contender going into December next year, much like it was for them and the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati, of course, doesn't get in. They do get in by virtue of the tiebreaker. So what's interesting is that Pittsburgh had no choice but to go upgrade the quarterback position. And, oh, by the way, it cost them $1 million, which is ridiculous that they're getting a franchise quarterback for $1 million. Number 2, while they did upgrade the position, which they had to, it doesn't guarantee them a damn thing.
No.
And that's the craziest part of this whole thing.
I expect them to be last in the division. And
Why?
I don't. Look at the other teams. If everyone's healthy.
This team beat Baltimore twice last year. Beat Browns. They beat everybody in their division.
They beat them once.
No, they beat them twice early in the season. In the last game, Lamar didn't play, and they still beat the Baltimore Ravens. They played. Doesn't matter if he played or not. They played. So the bottom line is, with all that said, the Steelers will be in the second or first.
Look, I could make the argument right now that any one of these teams, because I think they'll beat each other up a lot, that any one of them theoretically could come in first and any one of them could come in last. Because, look, the Cleveland Browns somewhat quietly acquire another wide receiver for, a 5th and a 6th, I think it was, to get Judy. So that's more for Deshaun Watson, more weapons, maybe a better offense for them, right? But you could make the argument that any one of those teams, Browns have the best defense, maybe Baltimore's got the best quarterback. Oh, by the way, there's this guy named Joe Burrow, who I saw at the UFC event in Miami on Saturday that looked pretty good out there watching dudes beat each other up, right? Who's going to be coming back? It's the best division in all of football, and they now have 4 legitimate franchise quarterbacks at the helm of each respective team. Hey there, thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.